a young boy named Nagasumi Mikishio who was on vacation with his family at the ocean. While swimming, he suddenly started to drown but was saved by a beautiful mermaid named Sunsito. Unfortunately, this act of kindness broke the mermaid code, which forbids mermaids from revealing themselves to humans. Sun's father, Gazaburo Sito, appeared and told Nagasumi that he must either die or marry Sun to keep the mermaid race a secret. Nagasumi was understandably shocked and overwhelmed by this sudden turn of events. He had never even met a mermaid before, let alone considered marrying one. Nevertheless, he quickly realized that he had no choice if he wanted to save his own life and keep Sun from suffering the consequences of breaking the mermaid code. Thus began Nagasumi's journey into the world of mermaids. From the moment he arrived in Sun's underwater hometown, he was surrounded by strange and wonderful creatures who were unlike anything he had ever encountered before. Sun's family and friends were all mermaids, each with their unique personalities and quirks. Sun's father, Gazaburo, was particularly intimidating, as a powerful merman and leader of their community. He was extremely overprotective of his daughter and fiercely devoted to preserving the mermaid race's secrecy. Nagasumi soon found himself at odds with Gazaburo, who saw him as a threat to their way of life and a potential danger to Sun. Mermaid laws were strict and unforgiving, and Sun was in grave danger for allowing a human to see her true form. Her father, Gazaburo Sito, was a Yakuza boss, and he and his men wanted to solve the problem by killing Nagasumi. However, Sun's mother, Ren Sito, had a different solution in mind. She suggested that Nagasumi should marry Sun to avoid having to kill either of them. Desperate to avoid being murdered by Sun's father, Nagasumi decided to take up Ren's suggestion and formally asked for Sun's hand in marriage. Although he had just met Sun, he was willing to do whatever it takes to protect her and keep her safe from harm. Sun, on the other hand, was overjoyed at the idea of marrying Nagasumi, as she had already fallen in love with him. Sun warns Nagasumi that if they go ahead with the marriage and if he takes her home with him, her father would never let them live peacefully and he will look for them to the ends of the earth. Sun asks her that why did she save him from drowning if it was against the mermaid law, to which she explains that she cannot ignore someone who is in trouble in front of her. However, things were not going to be that easy. Sun's father, Gazaburo, catches up to them and attacks Nagasumi with a giant octopus and was dead set against the marriage, and he made sure that Nagasumi knew it. Nagasumi never imagined his first day of the vacation to turn out like this. Nagasumi and Sun's relationship blossomed after they got married, and they were thrilled to have found love in each other. Nagasumi wanted to do everything he could to make Sun feel special and loved. So when his grandmother suggested they attend the Bon Odori festival, he jumped at the opportunity to take Sun on a date. However, the festival turned out to be quite different than they had expected. Sun's father, Gazaburo Sito, kept a watchful eye on the couple as they explored the various stalls at the festival. To make matters worse, many of the stalls were operated by members of the Sito gang, which added to the tension and made the atmosphere uncomfortable. Despite this, Nagasumi and Sun tried to have a good time and enjoy themselves. As they walked around the festival, they came across a child carrying goldfish. Sun, being a mermaid, did not like the idea of the goldfish being kept in small containers and decided to save as many as she could. Nagasumi, always wanting to help Sun, joined in, but was quickly confronted by a giant shark. The giant shark had almost devoured Nagasumi when Sun intervened and saved him, using her mermaid powers to take down the shark. Nagasumi was impressed by Sun's bravery and knew that he was lucky to have her by his side. Sun tells him about her school and the principal of the school, who is also a mermaid, which is a great help in concealing her real identity. Unfortunately, things took a turn for the worse when Sun accidentally stepped into a puddle of water and her legs reverted to a mermaid tail. Nagasumi quickly realized the situation and rushed to dry her off before anyone could see her secret. They managed to avoid any trouble, but Gazaburo misunderstood Nagasumi's intentions and almost attacked him. Despite the danger and the challenges they faced, Nagasumi was determined to do something nice for Sun. He bought her a beautiful glass ring, which she happily wore on her ring finger. Nagasumi was overjoyed to see how happy the ring made her, and he knew that he wanted to take his relationship with Sun seriously as her future husband. As their relationship continued to grow, Nagasumi did everything in his power to make Sun feel loved and cherished. They faced many obstacles, but they always managed to overcome them together, proving time and time again that their love was strong and unbreakable. Nagasumi was always willing to risk everything to protect Sun and keep her safe, and Sun knew that she could always count on him. In the end, Nagasumi and Sun's love only grew stronger as they faced the challenges of married life together. They knew that there would be many obstacles in their future, but they were ready to face them as a team, supporting each other through thick and thin. Nagasumi had found his soulmate in Sun, and he knew that he would always be there for her, no matter what. Nagasumi is ready for another day with Sun, but is very disappointed to hear from him that they will be going back to Saitama tomorrow, and his parents tell him to talk to Sun about this personally. After their eventful date at the Bon Festival, Nagasumi and Sun were looking forward to spending a relaxing day on a deserted island with Sun's childhood friend, Maki, who is very small in size. However, things quickly took a turn for the worse when Nagasumi realized that Maki was actually the feared assassin, Maki the Conch. Despite Maki's attempts to kill Nagasumi whenever Sun was distracted, Nagasumi remained chivalrous and kind. His actions made Maki hesitate and question her mission to kill him. Nagasumi's bravery and honor impressed Sun, who began to see him in a new light. Maki did not like their attempts to have fun and bond while on the abandoned beach, and she thought that they were doing perverted behavior. Nagasumi tries to enjoy his last day with Sun. However, Nagasumi was still apprehensive about telling Sun that he would be leaving tomorrow to return to his hometown of Saitama. He was afraid of hurting her feelings and didn't want to ruin their time together. Nagasumi's parents had asked him to discuss this matter with Sun personally, and he knew that he had to find the courage to do so. However, their peaceful day on the island was cut short when Maki finally made her move to kill Nagasumi. Maki tells Nagasumi that if the land creatures came to know about the affairs of sea creatures, one side will be eliminated, and this rule is from the ancient times which he broke. She had been taught that land creatures and sea creatures could not mix, and their interaction could lead to the elimination of one side. Sun, who had overheard everything, quickly stepped in to protect Nagasumi, scolding Maki for her actions and revealing her love for Nagasumi. Determined to be with Nagasumi, Sun announced that she will be moving to Saitama to be with him. Nagasumi was overjoyed and knew that he would do everything in his power to keep her safe and happy. Maki goes back to her boss to tell him that she failed her mission and could not do anything. Nagasumi finally relieved that his vacation has ended, and as he is going back to Saitama, at least Maki and Sun's dad won't bother him and he would be able to live peacefully with Sun at his house. Their journey back to Saitama was not without its surprises, as they discovered that Maki had stowed away in their luggage, and Gazaburo, Sun's father, was sticking outside the train window. Despite her attempts to kill Nagasumi, they showed her kindness and compassion. Maki was surprised by their kindness, and she began to question her own beliefs and actions as she only wants to protect Sun from Nagasumi. Nagasumi had learned that sometimes the greatest strength comes from showing kindness and compassion towards others, even in the face of danger. Nagasumi had been looking forward to having his friends Sun and Maki stay with him in his parents' house in Saitama, but things didn't quite go according to plan. Despite being the host, Nagasumi was forced to give up his bedroom to Sun and Maki, and was relegated to the attic. It wasn't an ideal situation, but Nagasumi didn't complain. One day, while out with his childhood friend Maori Zenigata, Nagasumi stumbled upon a group of delinquents harassing schoolgirls. Maori tried to stop them, but they turned their attention to her. Just when things looked like they were about to turn ugly, Sun appeared and scared off the delinquents with her strength. However, this was only the beginning of Nagasumi's problems. Later that day, Sun's legs got wet and reverted into a tail. Nagasumi quickly had to come up with an excuse to explain the situation to Maori, who was suspicious of Sun's true identity. Nagasumi's quick thinking saved the day, and Maori was none the wiser. But the trouble didn't stop there. Maki, who was secretly a killer, tried to kill Nagasumi. Once again, Nagasumi had to come up with a story to explain the situation to Maori. His web of lies was becoming more and more complicated, and he began to worry about getting caught. The situation came to a head when Maori revealed that she was the daughter of the chief of police. Sun, who was the daughter of a Yakuza boss, became very nervous about being sent to prison. Maori, who had a crush on Nagasumi, was initially depressed that he had a girlfriend, but she decided to devote herself even more to enforcing the rules of society. Nagasumi was caught in the middle of a complicated situation. He had to keep up his lies to protect his friends, but he was also worried about getting caught. Despite the challenges, he remained committed to helping his friends and keeping them safe. In the end, Nagasumi's quick thinking and bravery paid off. He was able to navigate the complicated social and criminal underworld of Saitama and protect his friends from harm. While it wasn't the easy vacation he had hoped for, Nagasumi learned a lot about himself and his friends during their time together. He realized that true friendship and loyalty are worth fighting for, no matter what the circumstances may be. Sun and Nagasumi were excited to start their first day of school together, but their excitement quickly turned to dread when they discovered that Sun's parents had used their political influence to get jobs at their high school. Kazaburo and Ren were now the homeroom teacher and school nurse, respectively, while Masa taught math and Shark Fujishiro taught PE. Nagasumi knew that he was in for a rough time, especially with the added complication of his perverted friend, Hideyoshi Chimp Sarutobi, falling in love with Sun. Despite the constant attacks from his new teachers, Nagasumi tried his best to survive. He was especially grateful for Sun's mother, Ren, who supported their relationship and helped him navigate the difficult situation. But even with Ren's support, Nagasumi had to deal with the constant harassment from Gazaburo, Shark, and Chim. One day, Nagasumi was trying to avoid being eaten by Shark Fujishiro during PE class when he stumbled upon a classroom full of girls changing into their PE clothes. Desperate to escape, Nagasumi tried to slip past the girls unnoticed, but he was promptly arrested by Maori Zenigata, who had also been changing her clothes. Despite all his suffering, Nagasumi remained happy that Sun was in his life. He knew that their relationship was worth fighting for, even if it meant enduring the constant harassment from their teachers and classmates. He also knew that he could count on Sun to support him and stand by his side no matter what. Nagasumi is frustrated with his life because so many from Sun's family is now in their school. As the school year progressed, Nagasumi and Sun's relationship continued to grow stronger. They faced many challenges, but they were always there for each other. Even when their teachers and classmates made their lives difficult, they never lost sight of what was important, their love for each other. In the end, Nagasumi learned that true love is worth fighting for, no matter what obstacles stand in your way. He also learned that he could count on Sun to support him and stand by his side, no matter what challenges they faced. Together, they navigated the difficult world of high school and emerged stronger and more in love than ever before. Maori Zenigata was childhood friends with Nagasumi. They were always together and they won in the Isono Elementary School Karuta contest. Maori starts getting jealous of the new relationship of Nagasumi and Sun as she is not able to figure out their relationship. She starts investigating more and slowly going insane thinking about their true relationship. Maori Zenigata accidentally learns that Sun is living with Nagasumi and that her parents have also become their new teachers at school. She is shocked to hear this news and becomes determined to uncover the truth about Sun. One day, during a class, Maori accidentally spills water on Sun and she briefly notices Sun's tail. This makes Maori come to the conclusion that Sun is a fish. Maori starts trying to splash Sun with water to verify her theory. Nagasumi notices Maori's actions and constantly protects Sun, trying to stop Maori from learning the truth so she won't be executed under the Mermaid Code of Law. However, Maori is relentless in her pursuit of the truth and continues to try and expose Sun's secret. Maori then comes up with a new plan to use cats to try and expose Sun. Nagasumi realizes how much Maori's actions are upsetting Sun and tries to reason with Maori. He explains that Sun is not just a fish, but a person who has feelings and deserves to be treated with respect. Maori begins to see the error of her ways and relents, realizing the harm she is causing Sun. At that moment, Maori is almost hit by a car, but both Nagasumi and Sun save her together. In the hospital, Sun ends up getting wet, and Maori steps in to prevent Sun's mermaid form from being revealed. She apologizes for causing Sun so much trouble and promises to keep her secret safe. As time passes, Maori becomes more accepting of Sun and even starts to develop a friendship with her. She realizes that Sun is a kind and caring person, and that her relationship with Nagasumi is genuine. Maori also understands that Sun's secret is something that must be kept safe, and she becomes determined to protect her friend's secret at all costs. In the end, Maori learns an important lesson about acceptance and understanding. She realizes that people are not always what they seem and that it's important to treat others with kindness and respect, no matter who they are. Nagasumi and Sun's relationship continues to grow stronger, and with Maori's support, they are able to overcome the challenges that come their way. The day started innocently enough, with Nagasumi running into Lunar Edemi, a pop star idol who had always considered herself as Sun's rival. During a sudden rainstorm, Lunar's mermaid form was revealed to Nagasumi, which triggered the age-old tradition of executing anyone who discovered a mermaid's true identity. However, Sun, Nagasumi's fiancé, stepped in and reminded everyone that Nagasumi was already engaged to her, which meant that he was off limits. Sun admitted that she had completely forgotten about Lunar. Lunar, feeling jealous, declared her intention to steal Nagasumi and make him her slave. She insisted on moving into Nagasumi's house and transferring schools to be in Sun and Nagasumi's class. Nagasumi found himself in a chaotic situation as both Sun and Lunar were fighting for his attention, trying to one-up each other. Lunar even went so far as to seduce Nagasumi by sleeping near him and touching him inappropriately. Sun tried to explain her relationship with Nagasumi to Lunar, but Lunar's jealousy only intensified. She suggested that Sun should just kill Nagasumi. Lunar's obsession with Nagasumi stemmed from her envy of Sun. She wanted to make Nagasumi her servant since he had seen her true mermaid form, and due to the mermaid law, they would have to stay together. Sun, on the other hand, was disappointed that she had never done anything romantic with Nagasumi, while Lunar had already made moves on him. She couldn't understand why Lunar was so infatuated with Nagasumi and why she was causing so much chaos in their home. Nagasumi was feeling overwhelmed by the situation, unable to choose between Sun and Lunar. He didn't want to hurt either of them, but he knew he had to find a way to diffuse the tension between them. Nagasumi's friend, Chimp, was shocked and jealous when he saw Nagasumi with both girls. He asked Nagasumi if he had made a wish to a genie or used the Dragon Balls to make it happen. Chimp was both amazed and envious of Nagasumi's luck, but Nagasumi knew that it was not luck that had brought him to this point. It was his own actions and choices that had led him to where he was. As a celebrity, Lunar quickly gained numerous loyal fans among the male students, but her jealousy grew when she realized that Sun already had more fans than she did. As the day progressed, the Sun faction and Lunar faction grew larger and more hostile towards each other. Eventually, the entire school was embroiled in a war between Sun and Lunar. Despite all this, Nagasumi remains loyal to Sun and continues to protect her from Lunar's attacks. Lunar, on the other hand, becomes increasingly jealous of Sun and declares that she will win Nagasumi's heart. As Lunar and Sun continue to compete, the school becomes a battlefield with students taking sides and engaging in violent clashes. The situation is made worse by Lunar's celebrity status, which makes her even more popular among the male students. The war between Sun and Lunar continued to rage on as the girls joined the fight in support of Maori and the disciplinary committee. They blamed Nagasumi for starting the war and captured him, demanding that he choose between Sun or Lunar as his girlfriend. Nagasumi was torn and unsure of what to do, but with the help of his wise yet lecherous friend, Chimp Roshi, he decided to follow his heart and find Sun. However, upon returning home, Nagasumi discovered that Maki had been injured by the Lunar faction and that Sun's father was preparing to start a war against Lunar's family, the enemy gang. Nagasumi knew he had to act quickly to prevent a full-scale war from breaking out. He arranged for Lunar and Sun to face off in a singing competition, hoping that it would resolve the conflict between the two factions. The competition was intense and tensions were high as the Sun and Lunar factions faced off against each other. Lunar started her performance, but after finishing one song, she started again as part of her plan to prevent Sun from performing. However, Sun was determined and took the stage, performing the same song as Lunar but much better. The audience went wild and started acting inappropriately, as both Sun and Lunar were mermaids and their voices had extreme effects on humans. Lunar became angry at the audience for ruining her show and started to sing the Song of War, which turned every member of the audience hostile towards each other. Amidst the chaos, Nagasumi watched nervously from the sidelines. He was not affected by their voices as he had been living with them for so long and had become resistant to their effects. Nagasumi hoped that his plan would work, as Sun was unable to stop the madness and asked for his help. Sun then used her Song of the Heroes on Nagasumi, making him immensely powerful. Nagasumi was able to beat both the Sun and Lunar factions into submission and force them to apologize. The audience was no longer hostile towards each other, and the war was finally over. Sun was declared the winner of the competition, and she demanded that Lunar apologize for hurting Maki. However, Maki admitted that she had accidentally injured herself and was too embarrassed to admit it. With Sun declared the winner, she demanded that Lunar apologize for hurting Maki. However, Maki surprised everyone by admitting that she had accidentally injured herself and was too embarrassed to admit it. The revelation shocked both Sun and Lunar and led to a truce between the two factions. Nagasumi comes to the realization that Lunar is not as terrible as he originally thought. In fact, he even begins to enjoy her company. Lunar then decides to stay with Nagasumi in their house for a few days. Kai Mikawa, a wealthy and handsome killer whale merman, crashes his personal submarine into the school's PE hall. He claims that Sun is his fiancé and accuses Nagasumi of kidnapping her. Kai reminisces about their childhood memories when Sun's father brought her to Kai's home. Initially, Kai was distant as he disliked people who only talked to him because of his wealth. However, Sun suggested they play house, which made Kai very happy. Those 2 hours were the best of his life, and he realized he wanted to be with Sun. Sun taught Kai that if he did not make friends with people, they would never reveal their true personality and emotion. Kai offers the school a large sum of money to fix the damages he caused. He also offers Nagasumi a lot of money to leave Sun, which angers Nagasumi and they start fighting. They move outside the school, and Kai is exposed to the outdoors, which triggers his agoraphobia and renders him unable to fight. Kai reveals that he got lost in the desert with his grandfather, which resulted in his fear of the outdoors. He throws money at Nagasumi and asks for his help, but Sun disapproves of his attitude, saying that he used to say that he did not like people who befriended him only because of his money, but now he is throwing money to do his bidding. Kai realizes his mistake and leaves, saying that he will come back after some training. Kai later transfers into the same class as Nagasumi and Sun. He challenges Nagasumi to a sports festival with the intention of winning Sun's hand in marriage. Despite winning a foot race, both Sun and Lunar argue over Nagasumi, paying no attention to Kai. During the challenge, Kai receives significant help from Nagasumi's friend, Chimp. In gratitude, Kai grants Chimp a special place in his army. Despite this, Kai remains persistent in his pursuit of Sun's heart, often getting into arguments and fights with Nagasumi. However, Sun remains loyal to Nagasumi and insists that she loves only him. During the final relay race to win Sun's hand, Kai initially gains an advantage due to his mermaid form's speed compared to Nagasumi's human form. However, a sudden downpour causes Kai to transform into his killer whale form, causing him to fall behind and lose the race. As the rain continues, Sun and Lunar also transform into their mermaid forms, but the heavy rain obscures their presence from the others. Meanwhile, Chimp emerges from Kai's submarine to help his master by launching missiles at everyone. However, Sun comes to the rescue and sings an ancient mermaid song, causing everyone on the ground to fall into a deep sleep and averting disaster. A strange and powerful-looking man reaches Nagasumi's house, which was his target. Nagasumi, who was peacefully dreaming, wakes up scared to see the man standing beside his bed. The man had a menacing aura, and Nagasumi quickly realized that he was in danger. Scared, he goes down and tells his wife Sun about the strange man who was asking about Lunar. Nagasumi shares about the tall man, dressed all in black with a shotgun in his hand, to his classmates whom he believed were his friends. However, no one believed his side of the story when the man showed up at school following Nagasumi. Eventually, Nagasumi ran into Kai, who did not believe him at first but now was also being followed by the same man. The two of them decided to team up and run away together. The man kept chasing them everywhere, and eventually, Kai took out his bazooka and shot at the man, but it did nothing to him. However, they were quickly caught up by the man. They tried to kill him with a laser beam from space, but that also did nothing to the man. The school was in total chaos, and all students were scared, thinking about the weird things happening in the school. Sun tried to stop him with her mermaid powers, but she failed to do so. Soon, Gazaburo, who is Sun's father, came to the rescue and started fighting the strange man. They fought, which ultimately resulted in a draw. Finally, Lunar arrived, and they asked about the strange man, who revealed himself to be Lunar's father, the boss of the enemy gang. Lunar's father demanded that Nagasumi take good care of his daughter, threatening to kill him if he failed to do so. Nagasumi was terrified, but he tried to explain that he was already taking good care of Lunar. Nagasumi tried to tell his friends about Lunar's father, but they didn't believe him at first. However, when they saw him for themselves, they quickly realized the danger that Nagasumi was in. Sun and Lunar decided to intervene and confront Lunar's father. Sun tried to reason with him, but he refused to listen, and a fight broke out. Lunar's father was incredibly strong, but Gazaburo, Sun's father, stepped in and fought him to a draw. After the fight, Lunar's father talked briefly with his daughter before disappearing into a nearby vat of molten steel. Nagasumi was relieved that Lunar's father was gone, but he knew that he couldn't let his guard down. It was revealed in the end that Maki had been locked in a cage by Gazaburo because of her actions. During a medical checkup for second-year girls at school, Nagasumi, Chimp, and Kai attempt to peep through the gym window, but their plans are thwarted when Gazaburo catches them and attacks. Lunar feels self-conscious about her recent weight gain and becomes upset that she has gained weight while Sun has not. She insists that Sun join her in a diet and exercise regimen, even going so far as to purchase mermaid-specific dietary supplements and exercise equipment from the Seto Home shopping channel and build a gym in Nagasumi's house. Gazaburo also brings a lot of weight loss products for Sun, which makes her very happy. She expresses her gratitude to her father, which in turn makes him very happy. While looking for an aerobics DVD to practice, Nagasumi comes across an inappropriate DVD. His father also discovers the DVD and watches it with him, but it turns out to be a video of fish, which they find peculiar. They install a state-of-the-art machine in the mermaid weight loss industry at their house, which is a small waterfall which they have to climb to lose weight. It's like a treadmill for mermaids. Sun is very happy to see this and also asks her dad to lose some weight, which is a little traumatizing for him. After being reprimanded by his father and Gazaburo for attempting to peep in inappropriate places, Nagasumi decides to try the mermaid mineral water. To his surprise, he grows to an enormous height, destroying his parents' house and turning into a giant. Everyone in the house runs out in fear. Some people witness Nagasumi's transformation, and Sun attempts to stop him by singing her song of sleep, but it has no effect on him as he has already consumed the water. Nagasumi loses control and begins attacking everyone in sight. In an effort to stop Nagasumi, Gazaburo sends Octopus Nakajima to fight him, but Nagasumi easily defeats him. Kai then arrives in his submarine to try to restrain Nagasumi, but even his attempts are futile. Nagasumi is completely out of control and his rampage continues. Kai finally used his NASA connections to launch Nagasumi to the moon and blew him up with rockets, thinking that would be the end of it. However, to everyone's surprise, Nagasumi survived the explosion and was now stranded on the moon. Sun's mother came to the rescue with the Neptune Lance, a magical item from the Seto Home shopping channel that could fix everything if Sun believes in herself. Sun, determined to save her husband, succeeded in throwing the lance to the moon, where it hit and cured Nagasumi, shrinking him back to his normal size and returning him to Earth. After returning to Earth, Nagasumi is unconscious, and Gazaburo suggests Mr. Masa to try to resuscitate him by giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. However, Sun promptly stops him and takes over. She successfully revives Nagasumi and is overjoyed to be back with him. Lunar was in deep trouble. She was failing all her school subjects, and the possibility of having to repeat the school year was looming over her head. She knew she needed help, and the only person she trusted to tutor her was Nagasumi. One day, while Sun and Nagasumi's mother were out shopping, Lunar and Nagasumi were left alone in the house. Lunar invited Nagasumi to her room, and he initially thought it was a romantic invitation, but he was disappointed to learn that she only wanted help with her studies. Nagasumi suggested that she ask Sun for help, as she was a better student with higher grades. However, Lunar, being a child pop star and its tsundere, refused to ask for Sun's help and confided in Nagasumi that she might fail her classes and have to repeat the year if she didn't improve her grades. Although Nagasumi was hesitant to tutor Lunar, as she had been receiving zeros in all her subjects, he decided to help her. However, Lunar's inappropriate behavior towards Nagasumi made him remember his wife Sun, and he quickly put a stop to it. Unfortunately, Maki, who was Sun's friend and bodyguard, witnessed the interaction and threatened to report it to Sun. Maki's intention was to make Nagasumi and Lunar date so that Sun would be free to leave her home and return to Sunseto Island. Lunar accidentally spilled water on herself and transformed her legs into a tail. Panicked and embarrassed, Lunar looked to Nagasumi for help. He quickly grabbed a towel and began drying her off, trying to calm her down. But just as he finished, Lunar's father walked in and saw Nagasumi seemingly doing inappropriate acts to his daughter. Enraged and furious, Lunar's father prepared to personally drown Nagasumi in the ocean. But Lunar stopped him just in time by admitting that she loved Nagasumi. Lunar's father was shocked but decided to imprison Nagasumi instead of drowning him. He also began planning his daughter's wedding to Nagasumi, much to the dismay of Sun, who was determined to get Nagasumi back. Meanwhile, Nagasumi was trapped in Lunar's father's underwater prison, feeling hopeless and alone. But Sun refused to give up on him and decided to take matters into her own hands. As Nagasumi was imprisoned, he found himself in a dark, damp cell with no windows and barely enough light to see. He couldn't believe that his life had taken such a drastic turn. He had gone from being a high school student to being locked up in a mermaid prison, all because he had been helping Lunar with her studies. Meanwhile, Sun was doing everything in her power to rescue Nagasumi. She had always been in love with him, and now that he was in trouble, she realizes her true feelings for Nagasumi and blames herself that she was not a good wife to him. But our story ends here. If you like it, then subscribe our channel and press the bell icon for more such videos. See you.